Hi everybody, my name is Dave, and today I'll be sharing with you some verses from the 23rd Psalm. You know, when I was a kid around 6 or 7 years old, my dad was in the army and we lived in France. And one Sunday, I think his commander ordered him to take his family to church. So we went to the army-based chapel and we started attending Sunday school there. Well, there's two older ladies, which today they'd probably be younger ladies to me, but at that time, these two older ladies ran the Sunday school. And they told us that we had to attend 26 Sundays in a row, and we had to memorize the 23rd Psalm in order to earn your Bible. So I still have that old King James Bible today. Well, that was 60 years ago. And it's funny how the memory works, because I can still recite the 23rd Psalm today, but don't ask me what I had for dinner last night. You know, the 23rd Psalm is probably the most famous poem in the Bible. Scholars say that it's been translated into 900 different languages and dialects. One day, I was praying this psalm when it struck me as to how this describes the journey of a Christian, from the day he accepts the Lord as his shepherd to the day he dies. So I'd like to share today's devotion with you based on the 23rd Psalm, but with a little bit of a twist. I call it 8 reasons why you may not want to become a Christian. Most folks have heard or read it, the 23rd Psalm at one time or another, especially at funerals or celebrations of life. But I'd like to read it for you just to refresh your memories. And it goes like this: The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You know, first of all, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Bible refers to us as sheep and goats. And David, who wrote this psalm, was a shepherd. And as the owner of a few sheep and goats myself, I've observed that sheep are afraid of everything. They have no defensive weapons. Their only defense is to run very fast. And when they run, they want to hide somewhere. And doesn't that sound a lot like people? You know, if a person doesn't want someone guiding them, shepherding them throughout their life, providing for all their needs and most of their wants, then they probably shouldn't become a Christian. You know, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. When I was in the 7th grade here at Lincoln School in Manteca, they have that big field that runs into Lincoln Park. And I can remember when they would cut that fresh green grass out there. And during recess, I would go out there and lay in the field and smell that fresh cut grass. It was very refreshing and peaceful. You know, there's something about that, and resting next to a mountain stream or a mountain lake that is very restorative. And so, you know, if you don't want peace and contentment in your life, then you probably won't want to become a Christian, because some people just tend to thrive in chaos. Well, then he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. You know, sometimes we can do something that seems right for us, but it's not right by God. One example is a guy that I know had bought some $50 Walmart cards from a guy. And he was selling them for $35, which seemed like a pretty good bargain. And he said it was because he needed the cash more than the merchandise that he could get with these gift cards. So he went ahead and bought them. Well, then found out later that there was a report that somebody had stolen a bunch of $50 Walmart cards. So he told his wife about it, and she said, well, then we should just throw them away. And he said, well, why would we want to throw them away? Well, because it's not honoring to God if we keep them and spend them, knowing what we know. So, you know, sometimes when we do anything for his name's sake that's honoring to him, he takes notice of it, especially if it costs us something in the process. So if you don't want things to go right for you in your life on a daily basis, then the Christian life may not be for you. And even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You know, there's no escaping the valley of the shadow of death, because we're all going to walk through it at one time or another. Unless, of course, the rapture hits before then. But as members of God's family, we don't have to fear death, because he'll be there with us. So if you don't want to be comforted when your time is up here on earth, then you should probably not become a Christian. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You know, a shepherd carries around a rod, which is a heavy stick, and he uses it to fight off any predators that might attack the flock. He also carries a staff, which has a hook on the end, and he uses that to pull sheep out of the brush and the thickets when they try to get away. But both of them are used for the protection of the flock. And if you don't want God's protection from your enemies, for your life, you know, life is full of pitfalls, then maybe being a Christian is not for you. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. You know, in biblical times, oil was used for healing. If you read the book of James, it says if you are sick, call the elders to pray over you and anoint you with oil for healing. Also, oil is used for blessing someone, like Samuel did with David. Well, if you don't want a healthy, happy, abundant life, full of blessing, until your cup overflows, then don't become a Christian. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. You know, if you don't want the creator of the universe pursuing you with goodness and mercy throughout your life, then the Christian life probably isn't for you. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You know, this is the best part. In the book of John, Jesus says, in my Father's house are many mansions, and I go there to prepare a place for you. It's unfortunate some believe that when you die, you're buried in the ground 6 foot under, and that's the end of it. The book of life tells us otherwise. Bible, B-I-B-L-E, stands for basic instructions before leaving earth. However, if you're one of those and you don't care what happens when your life ends here on earth, then the Christian life is probably not for you. But remember, forever is a very long time. You know, we all have family members, whether it's our moms or dads or our own children, who haven't had their eyes open to the reality of life and what happens in the hereafter whenever life is over here on earth. Perhaps you could share this devotion with them, offering some practical reasons why being a Christian is really the only way to live. Because even without the promise of heaven, this is still the best way to live. May the Lord bless you today.